There's really no easy way to sugarcoat that one, is there? Celtic put in a performance last night that felt like a slow-motion car crash, one we saw coming from the moment the first pass went astray. A 2-0 defeat to Braga at home, and suddenly qualification from the Europa League group is hanging by a thread. But more than just the scoreline, it's the manner of the defeat that's got people talking, or more accurately, shaking their heads in disbelief. Now, look, I'm not one for melodrama after every poor result, but there was something about that game that just screamed, this team is broken. Not in a dramatic, burn-it-all-down way, but in a this isn't working anymore and we don't have a clue how to fix it kind of way. The match started off all right, let's be fair. Celtic had some early control, knocking the ball around with a bit of tempo, a bit of purpose. It wasn't dazzling, but for 15 minutes or so, there was hope. You're sitting there thinking, okay, maybe they've got a bit between their teeth tonight. We weren't carving Braga open, but we were dominant in terms of territory, possession, keeping the game where we wanted it. But then came the turning point. Kasper Schmeichel. Now I don't want to turn this into a full-on post-mortem of the guy, but when your experienced goalkeeper starts pinging passes to the opposition under no pressure, you know you've got a problem. Twice within a few minutes, Schmeichel just gave the ball away in dangerous areas, and you could feel the nervousness seep into the stadium. From the fans to the players, the whole place tightened up, and right on cue, Braga took advantage. It was Horta with a speculative effort from range, and let's be honest, it should have been a routine save. Instead, Schmeichel opted for the wrong hand, got himself twisted up, and the ball ended up in the back of the net. I've watched that goal about 10 times now and still can't understand what he was trying to do. The positioning wasn't the issue, it was the decision-making, the execution, the whole thing just felt wrong. It reminded me of that game against Rangers at Ibrox early in 2023, when Joe Hart had a howler under pressure. That same sense of implosion. Same sense of, oh no, here we go again. Back then, the team folded after a moment like that, and that's exactly what happened here too. That goal didn't just change the score, it shattered whatever fragile control Celtic had. And you could see it in the body language. Instead of rallying, we saw players passing the blame. Schmeichel waving his arms, moaning at teammates, not taking ownership. You've got senior players, the guys who are supposed to be the spine of this team, looking like they don't fancy the fight. That's what's really worrying. The team didn't just lose a goal, they lost belief. Brendan Rodgers has talked a lot about mentality, about needing leaders in this group. But what we saw after that first goal was the opposite. No structure, no ideas, no real urgency. Just vibes, and not good ones. Now look, people will argue about that disallowed goal from Iheanacho early in the second half. And yes, it was a horrific VAR call. Absolutely scandalous. You've got slow-motion, high-definition replays showing the ball clearly bouncing off his head, nowhere near his arm, and yet somehow the goal doesn't stand. We'll get to that. But let's be clear, even if that goal stood, it wouldn't have masked the bigger issues. Celtic were flat, predictable, and lacked identity. It was basically, get the ball to Tanky and hope he does something. And credit to him, he was our best player on the night. One of the only ones who looked like he actually wanted to make something happen. But that can't be your whole tactical plan. This isn't last year's Celtic. Back then we had variety. We had danger from multiple areas of the pitch. Kyogo, O'Reilly, Hoda, pick your poison. Now, it's a case of give it to Tanky and cross your fingers. And that's a massive drop-off. Even when we changed shape in the second half, moving to what looked like a back three, it brought a little more energy for a spell. But you always felt Braga had another gear if they needed it. They sat in, picked their moments, and when we made yet another mistake late on, they punished us. The subs didn't help either. Hitati came on and immediately started going backwards. Bernardo, who I was buzzing to see get a chance, offered nothing. And as for Engels, completely anonymous. At a time when we needed players to step up, we got sideways passes and half-hearted pressing. It's just not good enough. Not for a club of Celtic stature, and certainly not in front of a European crowd at home. And that's where the frustration becomes something deeper. Because this isn't just a one-off. This is a pattern. We've now scored in just 4 of our last 9 games. Our midfield is toothless, our defense is shaky, and our goalkeeper can't be trusted. And worst of all, there's no anger left in the stands. Just apathy. When Braga scored their second, the place didn't erupt in boos or fury. People just quietly filed out. And that's a terrible sign. It means the fans have stopped believing, and that's when things get dangerous. Because if there's no belief in the stands and no spark on the pitch, what are we even doing here? This isn't the Celtic of last season. Hell, it's not even the Celtic of early Brendan Part 2. This feels more like that infamous COVID season, uninspired, uncoordinated, and unmotivated. There's no midfield general dragging us through games. McGregor looks a shadow of his former self. O'Reilly, who bailed us out time and time again last year, seems out of ideas. Negrin, still don't know what he actually offers. And for all the praise Rodgers has had for developing midfielders in the past, like Armstrong and O'Reilly in his first spell, he's getting nothing from this current crop. Tinky might turn out to be a star, but even he's not a Hoda or a Nakamura. Not yet anyway. And right now, the team needs more than one talented winger. It needs a structure, a system, and most of all, belief. That's the bit that's missing. This squad doesn't seem to know what it's meant to be doing. We're nearly halfway through October, and I still couldn't tell you what our best 11 is. We've chopped and changed, tried different shapes, different combinations, and at best we've been average. Nothing more. The issue isn't just the manager, although Brendan has serious questions to answer. It's the whole direction of the club, from the recruitment to the planning to the leadership at the top. And last night, when you've got board members sitting on their phones during the game, it's hard not to feel like they've checked out too. So, where do we even go from here? That's the question every Celtic fan is asking right now. Because what we're watching doesn't just feel like a poor run of form. It feels like a team at the end of its cycle. A group of players who've either peaked already or simply aren't good enough to take us to the next level. And when that happens, it's on the manager and the people above him to fix it. But right now, no one looks like they've got the answers. You can talk about the injuries, the fixture congestion, the bad refereeing decisions. And don't get me wrong, all of that's real. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't a team that's just been unlucky. It's a team that's lost its identity. That intensity, that bravery, that clear attacking philosophy we had, it's gone. You watch us now, and there's no pattern. No cohesion. Just players going through the motions and hoping someone else steps up. Take the midfield, for example. You tell me, who's the guy in there that's going to grab a match by the scruff of the neck? McGregor's been a brilliant servant, a proper leader over the years, but the legs are starting to go, and he looks shattered. O'Reilly, as much as we've praised him in the past, is offering flashes instead of consistency. Negrin still feels like a stranger in his own team. Bernardo looks like he's not ready. And the rest? Honestly, they're either too raw or too passive. It's not a midfield, it's a black hole. That's what makes it even worse watching someone like Hatate come on and immediately slow the game down. First pass, back to the center back. Second pass, back again. We're 1-0 down at home in Europe, and that's the urgency? It's not just poor football, it's a lack of mentality. It's the same sideways, safe nonsense that's crept in week after week. The kind of stuff that gets you nowhere when you're chasing a match. And Brendan Rodgers, he's got to own some of this. This isn't just about bad luck or poor execution. This is a team that looks undercoached and undermotivated. The substitutions are reactive, not proactive. There's no clear plan B when plan A isn't working. And the scary part is, I don't even know if we've got a plan A anymore. Look, nobody's denying Brendan's track record. He's done good things for Celtic in the past. But right now, he looks like a man trying to recreate old magic with the wrong tools. The players aren't the same. The league's moved on. The European landscape's even tougher. And if he's going to make this work, he's going to need to reinvent himself quickly, or risk going down as the guy who returned and undid his own legacy. And if Brendan doesn't have the solutions, do we really believe the board does? Because let's be honest, this situation isn't just about what happens on the pitch. It's about what's been allowed to fester off it. Poor recruitment. No proper succession planning. A lack of long-term vision. You look at how many positions we've failed to strengthen properly. Goalkeeper, striker depth, creative midfield. And it paints a clear picture. We went from playing Bayern Munich toe-to-toe in the Champions League to struggling against Braga in the Europa League. And it's not because we suddenly became unlucky. It's because we didn't build on what we had. We lost key players and replaced them with gambles. Projects. Boys who maybe could be something one day, but are nowhere near ready to carry the weight of this shirt right now. And the fans aren't stupid. They see it. That's why there's this growing sense of apathy. It's not even anger anymore. It's resignation. That quiet, hollow silence you heard at full time. That says more than 1,000 boos ever could. Because the fans have stuck with this club through thick and thin. But they won't be taken for mugs. They won't keep pouring time, money, and emotion into a team that looks like it's drifting. And that's what this is, a drift. Not a crisis in the dramatic sense, but a slow, steady slide into mediocrity. You can survive that in the Scottish Premiership, sure. The league's weak, the competition's inconsistent. But in Europe, that gets you exposed. Brutally. Even when we were dominant domestically, we always had that ambition of being respected in Europe. That's what made those big nights under the lights at Celtic Park special. That's why we cared so much about Champions League football. It wasn't just about money. It was about pride, identity, legacy. Right now, that legacy's being chipped away week by week. And the worst part is, no one at the top seems in any rush to stop it. You hear stories about people at the club more focused on branding, or sponsorships, or ticket packages. Meanwhile, the football side is falling apart. The stadium's literally falling apart in places too. No hot water in the toilets, broken screens, poor catering. These are basics. And when you've got record revenue in the bank and a team that's faltering, it becomes unacceptable. People like to say Celtic are a well-run club financially. And yeah, maybe they are, if your only goal is to sit on piles of cash and scrape by. But football isn't just about the balance sheet. It's about ambition, about momentum. And we've lost both. Now we've got a meeting on Monday that's supposed to be about strategy, direction, communication. Good. That needs to happen. But one meeting won't change years of drift. It won't suddenly make the recruitment sharper or the football more watchable. What it might do is shine a light on just how deep the issues go, and whether there's anyone in the building who's actually ready to tackle them. The sad thing is, this was all avoidable. We had the platform last year. We had a manager who knew the system, players who were bought into it, a style that suited modern football. But instead of building on it, we ripped it up. We chased short-term fixes, cheap options, and now we're paying the price. Not just in results, but in belief. And the biggest frustration is that we know what this club can be. We've seen it. That's why this hurts so much. Because when Celtic are flying, when the team is fearless and the fans are behind them, there's no place like it. But when the lights are dimmed and the magic fades, it becomes glaringly obvious how fragile that illusion can be. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are growing louder across Glasgow and beyond, as the footballing world is set ablaze by a story few dared to imagine. Celtic, the pride of Parkhead, are rumored to have pulled off the biggest signing in their long and storied history, one that could send shockwaves through Scottish football and ripple across Europe. The name on everyone's lips? None other than Ché Adams. The Southampton striker, long admired for his work rate, power, and knack for finding the net in the most crucial of moments, is said to be preparing for a dramatic return north of the border. Adams, with roots in Leicester but deep ties to the Scottish national side, has built his reputation in the relentless grind of the Premier League. Yet now, whispers suggest that he could soon be donning the famous green and white hoops, a move that would mark not only Celtic's most ambitious transfer ever, but perhaps the most audacious in the annals of the Scottish game. If the talk proves true, this would not be merely a signing. It would be a statement. Celtic, already giants domestically, appear intent on shaking off the notion that Scotland is a backwater when it comes to big-money football deals. Adams would bring proven firepower, international pedigree, and the sort of physicality that could transform the Hoops attack into something feared well beyond the Premiership. Imagine him charging through defenses on a wet night in Glasgow, or leading the line under the floodlights in a Champions League tie. Supporters are daring to dream, though skepticism hangs in the air. Could Celtic really prize away a striker of Adams' stature from the lure of English football? Could the board break with years of conservative spending to deliver a signing that would echo around the continent? The timing feels ripe. Rivals Rangers look unsettled. European nights are looming, and the Parkhead faithful crave a new hero. For now, it remains a rumor, a tantalizing thread in the fabric of football gossip. But if there is even a shred of truth, Celtic may be on the cusp of a new era, one where Ché Adams leads them not just to domestic glory, but back to the forefront of Europe's imagination. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.